Brian Jordan, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way. Put the ball back in here, hands come around, and these two fingers come into the ball, and stiff wristed, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat. I hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and doesn't a lot there. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.
This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
One of my favorite moments for your career, as of right now, is actually this past week. It was a show of confidence by Brian Snicker. He left you in the game after bases were loaded. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went back and I saw that clip on Instagram several times. I'll be honest, I went back and I watched it numerous times. Kind of gave me chills a little bit. It was just really cool. I was kind of lost my command a little bit there. Still made some good pitches, but was definitely getting a little tired. So whenever he said basically left me in the game, I feel like that kind of gave me what I needed to get me over the hump to make a good pitch, get a ground ball back to me, and get out of that inning.
This is Matt Olson. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond. Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Not everybody gets this opportunity to kind of set up their roots and be somewhere long term that they grew up and have family and friends. So it happened pretty quick there in spring training, and it was just an opportunity that my wife and I and my family thought that we couldn't pass up. So just jumped on it, and it's been a blast.
Says, Chief, why don't you race Ralph Garr? I said, okay. Said, Ralph Garr wants to race you too. So we started on the first base line on the outfield line. We started, bam, took off running. I beat him by 3 foot.
Mike Never's here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
I'm Kelsey Wingert, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You're watching On Deck with Tyler.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and of course, hit the bell for notifications so that you get notified next time we go live and you can be a part of it from the start. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Last night, a great comeback by the Braves, first of all. 6 runs in the 9th inning. You don't see that every day. You think that the Braves are going to pull away with a win. They have a 1-run lead, and Kenley Jansen gives up 2 homers, and the Mariners wind up walking it off. Tough loss for Atlanta. That would have been a great win while they are on the road. But I think this is a sign of a bigger problem. And we all know how big of a influence the bullpen has been over the past couple of years. We all remember the night shift last year. And when it seems to me, when the bullpen does well, the team does well. That's, the way it seems to me anyway. And, there's big guys in the pen right now. There's big names in the pen. Kenley Jansen is one of them. Tyler Matzik is one of them. Kirby Yates is a guy that doesn't get enough attention, and he's continuing to develop out of injury. There's a lot of guys there. Raisel Iglesias is another one. I mean, we can talk about the bullpen and how good it could be, but that's kind of the problem. It has all the potential, right? We talked early in the year, I remember, about how good this bullpen could be. It could be. I remember there was talk on social media about this could be the best bullpen in baseball history. Now, I didn't buy into that, but a lot of people did. It did have a lot of name value. And so far this year, it has been okay, but it hasn't been quite as elite as I think a lot of people would have imagined. And, with Kenley Jansen, let's be real here for a second. There's been a lot of frustration lately, and, for good reason, but there has been a lot of frustration. But let's be real for a second. When the Braves signed Kenley Jansen, we were excited. I certainly was. I did a video on it and thought this was going to, help the bullpen tremendously and really lock down the ninth inning because, we all love Will Smith and what he did last year, but throughout the regular season last year, Will Smith struggled in the closer role. So I thought this was really going to benefit the Braves in the ninth inning and really help them avoid any shenanigans late and not lose games late like we saw last night. And surrounding the pen this year, there have been questions, mainly with blown saves. I talked about it about a month ago. I got on here and said that blown saves have been a really big problem by the Braves, and it's not just Kenley. It was a little bit of everyone because, honestly, the bullpen was a little stretched because the starting rotation was struggling a little bit. So there's been, off and on problems from, different sides of the pen all year long. Right now, it's just really focused on Kenley. Kenley has certainly had his fair share of blown saves. He has 7 on the year. Now, he is leading the league in saves. That's true. But he does have the second most blown saves. He also has been thrown out there just about as much as any reliever in the game. So just keep that in mind. It sounds terrible that Kenley has the second most blown saves. He is tied with Emilio Pagan, and the only pitcher with more is Taylor Rogers. Now, that sounds terrible, but I want to take a second. Snit got on last night in the post-game interview. I'm going to play that clip, and then we're going to respond.
Kenley's struggles seem to continue tonight.
I'm sorry?
Kenley's struggles kind of continue today.
He's had the last 5 outings. He's had 3 saves. He's pretty good Friday night. He's had bad days, all. He's leading the league in saves.
So this got Braves Twitter in an uproar, right? How can he continue to just say that, this guy's got the most saves in baseball? It's not a problem. His past 7 have been rocky, right? His past 7 appearances have been worse for wear. But remember, Brian Snitker is a player's manager, and he's got their back. Why do you think so many players love Snit, right? Why do you think so many players have Snit's back? It's because he has theirs. And, if there's going to be a decision of who's going to be the closer going forward, it's not going to come at a post-game interview right after a 1-run loss. It's not going to happen there. So I think a lot of people expected Snit to sound off, which I don't really exactly understand why. Snit has got to defend his player there. If you're going to keep Kenley's confidence in any shape whatsoever, you have to defend Kenley there. And that's just from a, common sense standpoint that I'm speaking from. You can't just call out the guy that made the mistake. It is a team sport. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And if Snit is going to, take the credit for a lot of these wins, he's got to take the blame for it. But I also think that this is a proven closer. This is a guy who has, the 9th most saves in baseball history. This is a guy who's a 3-time All-Star. I mean, he's could be headed to the Hall of Fame one day. So you can't just easily pull the plug like some other guys out there. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like that. I know a lot of people aren't going to really understand that. But I want to just propose the idea. Has Kenley Jansen really been that bad? And before you get on a rant, just hear me out. We're just proposing the idea. We're playing devil's advocate. Has Kenley Jansen really been that bad? Now, his ERA does not help him here. A 3.91 ERA, I'm well aware of that, but his strikeouts per 9, pretty good. 11.9, 33 out of 40 in saves. So, really, statistically speaking, in the saves department, it's not that bad. However, when a team is in a super tight race in the division and it's getting late in the season, and someone just doesn't have it, like Kenley Jansen has dealt with here recently, it may not be in the Braves' best interest to wait. I think that's more so where my head is. It's not that Kenley has been just so bad in this closer role. It's more so that we can't afford to let him, continue to lose games like we saw last night, because obviously it was a very winnable game there in the 9th inning, and they closed the roof. The Braves offense got into gear, and So did the Mariners. So it's unfortunate for Kenley. He hasn't looked quite right. And look, after all, he does have the most saves in baseball. The problem is that his save percentage is not that great. Save percentage is basically what you do given a save opportunity. So it's how many times you get the save when given a save opportunity, for those that don't know. His save percentage is 82.5. Again, doesn't sound bad, but on a team like the Braves where you're competing to go to another World Series, probably, maybe, it's not great. It's ranked 17th across baseball, so it's not exactly elite. There's a lot of cracks in that game there. But it reminds me of a similar situation from last year really into this year. I mentioned Will Smith earlier. Will Smith, friend of the program, gave me an interview. You ought to go check it out. But Will Smith, we all know what he was in the postseason last year. We're all very aware. But also keep in mind that Will Smith struggled throughout the entire regular season. I mean, it wasn't until the last month of the season where Will Smith really locked down and became what he was in the postseason. He was not like that all year long. Now, he didn't give up one run in the postseason. That's a different story. But it does remind me of that because Brian Snitker took a lot of flack for sticking with that guy. Is it a little bit of a different situation? Possibly. But do I respect it? Yes, I do, because this is a player's manager. He stands by that. And, it's not only Snit's call. I've seen Snit take a lot of flack, so anytime I see that and I don't necessarily put the blame on him, I try to come to, a reasonable conclusion. I try not to be so, combative towards the manager. But back with Will Smith, right? At the trade deadline, the Braves traded Will Smith for Jake Odorizzi in Houston. That was a solid move at the time. I think most Braves fans understood it. Will Smith struggled all of this past year and needed a change of scenery, and it gave the Braves a chance to pick up someone who could eat innings and save the pen. He was great during the postseason, had a fairly good past few years, but in times like these, would the Braves have the time to wait? In times like what Kenley's having right now? Maybe not. Don't forget we made another move at the trade deadline, and it was for Raisel Iglesias in Anaheim. Raisel has had a great time in Atlanta. When we picked him up, he had a 4.04 ERA across 39 games. Now, he's brought that down. You see on the screen, he's brought that down to a 2.98 ERA, 11.7 strikeouts per 9. By the way, guys, in Anaheim, he was 16 for 19 in saves. So he's had a decent year, especially considering where he was at the deadline. But that's because since getting to Atlanta, guys, he has a .57 ERA. He has been phenomenal. His strikeouts per 9 maybe a little bit less, but look at that number at the bottom, no home runs. And after a 2-home run, inning by Kenley Jansen last night, that is a number that is pretty interesting. He's been great for the Atlanta Pen, but could he be the new closer? He's far from unfamiliar. Again, in Anaheim, he had 16 saves, so I think it is a possibility. He already does have one save in Atlanta as well, I should mention. So yes, he can do it. Is he the best option? Now, that is something that is hard for me to even say. I think that is a decision that cannot be made abruptly. That cannot be made the night of a one-run loss by Kenley Jansen. That decision is something that frankly, the front office and Snit are going to have to sit down and discuss. That is something that has to be thought out, and you can't just take a Hall of Fame level closer out of the closing role. You don't know what that does to him going down the stretch. You don't want to take away that confidence. And I know I'm saying that, confidence, right? I know that's been a regular word. That gets overlooked a lot of the time, because if you take a reliever's confidence, you take him out of that ninth inning, you might take a lot. I wonder sometimes if taking Will Smith out of the ninth inning affected him in some form or fashion. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just telling you it is something to consider. But look, it paid off when Brian Snitker stuck with Will Smith last year. Now, going into this year, that's a different story, obviously, but it did pay off. It certainly did. The postseason run by Will Smith was phenomenal. It may pay off for Kenley Jansen. Maybe the Braves move to Raisel Iglesias. Whatever the case may be, they have a lot of good options. Kenley Jansen is a good option. Hasn't been lately, but he is a good option. Raisel Iglesias, a solid option. But I would like to propose the idea that you have multiple closers to choose from. Tyler Matzik is out there. AJ Minter is out there. When he's healthy and ready to go, Kirby Yates eventually, not right now, but Kirby Yates eventually. There's a lot of guys that can be plugged into that role. If Kenley doesn't have it right now, maybe you see him go to some low leverage situations. But throwing him out there night after night and letting him lose like this, I don't believe is the answer either. So that's kind of where I'm at with Kenley Jansen. It's been an interesting time for the Braves. Obviously, it's been an upsetting time. Last night was rough. A lot of these appearances by Kenley have been rough. Even when he gets out of it unscathed, it doesn't seem like he's necessarily got it all together. And I don't want to knock the guy. I really don't. But it hasn't seemed like he has had his stuff together. And look, we need him to have his stuff together. To be fair to Snit, I would much rather see Kenley go through what he's going through right now in September as opposed to October. You know, if we're going to use him, if we're going to trust him in the postseason, we got to know he's right. He's got to work through some stuff. I get all of that. But at the cost of losing games to the New York Mets, who already have an easy schedule, you know, that's a tough decision that's got to be made. You know, I'm not going to call for anybody's job on this program, but I'm sure that, you know, the comment section will. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to you guys. Now, I'm sure we're going to have an active chat. I already see it popping up. If you would like to, get your question out there with priority, all you got to do is super chat. I'll answer you first. That's the only way I can really narrow it down. Otherwise, wait your turn. But we will answer your questions here in just a second. Do me a favor, as Just Inventory said, hit the like button. Show me some love. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you're new, I'm sure we have some new listeners out there. Make sure to subscribe so that you can get all your Braves content, so you can get all your baseball content. There's a lot going on with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, we're gearing up for the postseason. A lot of excitement ready to go for that, and we're going to cover it as much as we can here at On Deck. You don't want to miss that, so make sure you subscribe so you can be a part of it. With that said, guys, we are starting from the top. Chris Kaysen was the first guy in the chat tonight. I appreciate it. He said, "Let's go Braves. Hope to bounce back tonight." They are gearing up to play the Giants tonight. Strider on the mound. That's going to be exciting. Going to be a late one. It's been tough for me to stay up while the Braves are on the West Coast, but we are going to watch it. Make no mistake about it. Hopefully the Braves can get some wins because the Mets are facing the Chicago Cubs right now, so they got to get some wins. Thanks, Chris. William says, "We got this, just got to win and move on." Yeah, I think so too. You know, I really am still confident that the Braves can win the division. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Mets having an easy schedule and all of that, but they're down Scherzer right now. You know, they don't have necessarily an easy road. They have to get through the Braves because the Braves are right there with them. And, you know, last night was a tough loss, but the Braves are still right there with them in the standings. And I know it's like, well, now, you know, we're out of first again. Guys, if we're talking about within a game or two, it doesn't matter. As long as we're within a game or two by that 3-game series at the tail end of the month, we can win the division. And that's all that really matters. We have to make this competitive, give ourselves the opportunity to take down the New York Mets. Chris Kaysen says, "Great to see you. Wish it was on better circumstances. The Braves will be the comeback kids this year." I think so, too. I mean, we've seen a lot of excitement. I mean, look at the 9th inning last night. 6 runs in the 9th. 2 homers, I believe, by Michael Harris last night. It doesn't get much better than that. And, you know, all we can hope for is that the Braves play like that every day. That's all we can hope for. And they played exceptionally well, especially the offense in the late innings last night. Philip Nichols says, "Gotta gain some good wins with the Giants. Let's go." Yeah, like I said, they're kicking off a series with the Giants tonight. It's a chance to rebound. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. You know, we'll get to see a former World Series hero and Jock Peterson play as well. Always fun to see him. But yeah, the Braves got to win. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I think the Giants are a beatable team. I thought the Mariners were a beatable team, and I still think they were. I think last night we could have won that and, of course, won the series with that game. Didn't happen, but I think we could have won that game. I mean, of course, in the 9th inning. And if you had asked me in the 4th inning if I'd have thought we would have won a 6-2 game, I would have probably told you, you know, chances are slim. But, you know, the Braves proved me wrong. So it was a great game to watch last night. Of course, the ending didn't go as we would have liked, but at the end of the day, you know, we'll take it. Let's see. Tyler Hunter has a bold statement. He said that the Braves will sweep San Francisco. We will certainly hope so because, again, the Mets don't exactly have the toughest of competition in Chicago. So hopefully the Braves can sweep San Francisco and, maybe get some games up in the standings on the Mets. John Kruger says, make Kenley the 7th inning, Minter 8th inning, and Iglesias the closer. Yeah, a lot of people are on the Iglesias train. Look, when we picked him up, he was a closer. This is a guy proven in that role. Now, I will tell you, his ERA has gone down tremendously since he's been taken out of that role. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's dependent on one or the other. He also came from Anaheim, and now he's playing in Atlanta on a contending team. And, of course, if you're asking me, I think that makes a difference. So, it could happen. The Braves, as of right now, seem to be sticking with Kenley, and that was in every indication of Snit's post-game conference that we played earlier. It seems to me they're going to stick with him, at least for right now. And, if he makes another appearance that's, goes off the rail, maybe at that point they make an adjustment. Maybe they make a surprise adjustment tonight. We don't know. But, again, I don't think it's going to be spoken about in the post-game conference. I just don't think that's something Snit's going to do. Let's see. Philip Nichols asks, how is Chief doing, by the way? Does anyone know? I'll be honest with you. For those that don't know, Chief Nakahoma, former mascot of the Braves, he signed that TP back there. He's a good friend of mine. He is going through some health struggles. I don't have a recent update for you, Philip, unfortunately. But what I will tell you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this, this is on the channel. You can go find it on the community page, a GoFundMe for Chief Nakahoma. He was the mascot for 20 years. Go check it out. He is really struggling. They could really use the funds. I know them very well. I wish I could give you an update, trying to stay, respectful and a little distant from the situation, but I'm getting an update every chance I get. I wish I could give you something more specific. But yeah, what they need right now is you to go to that GoFundMe page and help support. Thank you for that, Philip. Christina and Rodney Hampton, everyone goes through a bad cycle, but they get over it, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're hoping for. That's what the Braves are hoping for. But when I watch Kenley right now, I mean, he's missing spots. He's missing, all kinds of location. He doesn't seem to have it. You can tell that, he's, how do I put this? You can tell what he wants to do is not what he's doing, and it's abnormal. I saw a post-game conference of his the other day, not last night, but the other day, and it was, it's something mechanical that he's working on. Maybe he gets through it and figures it out, but right now it's, it's tough to watch for sure. Chris Casey says, Jansen was finally pitching way better. It's hard to tell or know if he was going to fall right back into previous bad outings. I wouldn't mind Iglesias / Jansen as a closing rotation. Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I think that's currently what it is. I think if, like tonight, if there's a closing opportunity, you may see Iglesias come out because Jansen pitched last night, but they can't just, take Jansen out of that mix. It's you have to consider the person there. I will also tell you that with Jansen, he wasn't exactly playing stellar competition. And I mean that with no disrespect to these teams. Forgive me, this hasn't been updated, but you're talking about the A's and the Marlins, and maybe even as far back as the Rockies. You're not talking about Seattle, who's probably postseason bound, right? I mean, that's the difference in these teams, is good offense and, frankly, can square up pitching, and in the late innings, mind you. So he was pitching better, I'll give you that, but just remember, it was against the A's and the Marlins. So I don't know. You have to take that kind of with a grain of salt if you're asking me. But I appreciate the comment there, Chris Kaysen. Corey says, just know that if the Dodgers wanted him back, they would have re-signed him. They saw this coming. Well, he had his own battles with the Dodgers. A couple of years ago, I remember the postseason. There was a lot of talk about Kenley Jansen. Is he going to close the game in the postseason? They were asking Dave Roberts, and he was, being kind of quiet about it. He didn't want to talk about it. I definitely think they probably said, okay, yeah, we're good for now, but I also think that Kenley has proven to have something to offer. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be in the ninth inning, but he does have something to offer to the Braves. But, yeah, I definitely think the Dodgers had their fill with Kenley. But Kenley also seemed to want to be in Atlanta. The Dodgers did offer Kenley a contract, and he took the one in Atlanta. So just keep that in mind. He came out and spoke about how he wanted to be in Atlanta. That is just something to keep in mind. The Dodgers did make an offer. It might not have been an offer he wanted, but he took the opportunity to go to Atlanta. Chris Kaysen says, oh, you're having a whole nother conversation. Let me see. Garrett Clemens says, Kenley's cutter just has not been moving like it normally does. And maybe that's a sign of, falling off, possibly. Maybe it's the fact that we've used him a lot this year. I mean, he really has been used a lot. It may just be fatigue. It may be, we don't really know what it is. It may be something mechanical. I don't know. But I definitely think that it's not just his cutter. He's not locating. I mean, you're talking about a difference of William Contreras setting up a foot outside and Kenley's throwing it over the plate. That wasn't last night. That was about a week ago. But that's the difference of what we're talking about here, and it's just not even close. And again, I don't want to knock the guy. I want him to battle through this, but it has been something that we just have not really seen before with Kenley, not at least this year. We haven't seen that type of struggle. And, Kenley has had his, fair share of health battles this year with his heart and different things. So I don't want to criticize the guy too bad. You don't know, we only know what we know. But it is certainly frustrating. Garrett Clemens also says, if they are going to make a change, they have to now. Not any closer in the postseason. Also same with Odorizzi. You know what? The talk with Odorizzi has been interesting because there are options there. Kenley, you're a little limited. You have Rysel. I mentioned the guys you have, but you don't necessarily want to take them out of the 8th, 7th, and beyond. You want to keep that hierarchy there. With the starting rotation, you have guys that can pitch in that 5th spot that are probably more competitive than Jake Odorizzi. And I'm not calling for the guy's job. I'm not. He's been an innings eater. He's, been up and down this year for the Braves since we got him from Houston. But also keep in mind what we traded for him. All credit to Will Smith, but Will Smith wasn't having a great year. We traded a guy who, pitched an occasional 8th inning and gave you a scare for Jake Odorizzi, who could eat innings. It was a fair trade. But there is talk about, I responded with a guy on Twitter today asking me about, what do we do with Jake Odorizzi, right? Because Odorizzi struggled last night. With Kenley's struggle, we forget how bad Jake Odorizzi struggled last night. We sort of overlooked that. Jake Odorizzi struggled as well. And I will tell you that when I look at the minor leagues for the Braves, we don't have to go out and get another starting pitcher. When I look at the minor leagues, I see Kyle Muller, Bryce Elder, and beyond. Those two guys I think are going to be on the postseason roster, if I had to guess right now. Kyle Muller had one of the best years in the minor leagues. When he came up to the majors, he pitched well. Bryce Elder has been, good in the times we've called him up. There are guys down there. Soroka, I believe, had a good appearance a couple of days ago, so that's a good sign. The Soroka idea, I've sort of backed off of just because I don't think right now is the time, personally. He may prove me wrong, but if he comes up, I don't think it'll be in a starting role. I think they're going to give that to Muller or Elder at this particular time. Super chat from William Fulgham says, does Odorizzi make the playoff roster, and what is your first 3 starters to go? Great question. By the way, guys, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. We're going to spend some time on this question with William because he did super chat. So if you want to, me to really focus on your question, that's another thing. I try to take a little bit more time with super chats just because, you're giving me money. I need to take more time with you. So William, does Odorizzi make the playoff roster? I think he does. I really do. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be used all that much. I think with Odorizzi, I look at it and I go, well, does he have to be a starter? Can he come in long relief, right? If we're up by 5, we could pitch Odorizzi there, cover 3 innings, and then go into the pen and shut it down. That's the kind of role that I'm at with Odorizzi, because in a 7-game series, you don't need 5 starters. And that was your next question. What are your first 3 starters to go? I think without a doubt right now, it's Fried, Strider, and Kyle Wright. I don't know how it could be anyone else. Morton, World Series hero. We're all familiar with what he did last year on a broken leg, and that's great. But right now, the year that, those 2 up-and-comers and Strider and Kyle Wright have had, I don't know how you don't pitch those guys. I just don't know how they are not your top 3. Now, that being said, Morton and Odorizzi do give you that back end of the rotation that you may need. You know, if let's say we play in the wild card series and we pitch all three guys, you know, you got to start game one of the next series with somebody. And right now that would be Charlie Morton, which I'm okay with. I'm a little concerned with Jake Odorizzi. I really am. And in that case, I really think you might see Kyle Muller come up and pitch that game. Because, I mean, look, what did they do last year in the World Series? Do you remember who pitched game 5 of the World Series last year? It was Tucker Davidson. And he got rocked. I mean, we're talking about basically a minor league pitcher, you know, pitching, you know, of his probably within his first 10 starts in the major leagues in Game 5 of the World Series. So that's a little intimidating. But they could pull something out of their hat, out of the minor leagues, you know, a secret weapon, you know, with lack of a better word. They could do that. I mentioned I think Kyle Muller and Bryce Elder are going to be on that roster. I do. And if they're on that roster, they can be used in a variety of ways. They can be used in the pen. They can be used as a starter. They can be used as something in between. It doesn't really matter. But to answer your question, does Odorizzi make the playoff roster? As of right now, yes. If he continues to struggle and doesn't show any sign of improvement, then, you know, maybe they don't. You know, I remember a few years ago, we were all surprised when Austin Riley wasn't on the playoff roster. You know, and you know, we've mentioned maybe Marcell Ozuna doesn't make that. I've sort of wavered on that idea. And it really depends on who's hot at the right time, right? Let's say, you know, over the next few weeks, Odorizzi, you know, goes 4-0 and has only given up 2 runs or something. Obviously, that guy's going to make the playoff roster because he's hot at the right time, you know, and that's really what it's about. So, is that going to happen? Who knows? Probably not. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think it's who's hot at the right time. That decision is made, you know, a month from now. It's not made right now. I wish it was, I could tell you. But that's kind of where I'm at with Odorizzi. It's what are you going to do over the next month, right? In terms of the first three starters to go, though, that's locked down for me. Max Fried, Spencer Strider, and Kyle Wright. In any order, I don't really care. More than likely, Max Fried in Game 1. I would say probably Kyle Wright in Game 2 and Strider in Game 3. That would be where I would go. But, you know, we'll see. We will see. So, guys, do me a favor. Again, that super chat from William Fulgham. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate all the likes, all the support. It helps get the video out there to other Braves fans. And, of course, it gets the video out there to just baseball fans as well. So I thank you for that. Thank you to William Fulgham. Again, I really do appreciate it. I'm going to get back to where I was. Hopefully I can find it. I'm just going to guess. We're going to start with Jorge. Good to hear from you, man. I hadn't heard from you in a while. He says, hey, Tyler, hope you're doing well. I am. He says, thank goodness I stopped watching the game after the 5th inning yesterday. Really heartbreaking loss. Would you keep Jansen as closer? Jorge, I went through it earlier, and to be honest with you, I have my whole script over there thrown to the side. Personally, here's the thing, right? I already went through the Kenley thing. I'll give you a short explanation. It's not my place to say, and to be honest with you, I don't think it was the time and place yesterday after the game for Snit to say it. I'm not a guy that goes calling for jobs. That's not my thing. Even with the Ozuna thing a month ago, I don't like calling for people's jobs because, you know, it's just not my thing. I don't particularly enjoy that. And I don't think Kenley is necessarily like so bad that, you know, he can't be the closer. I think he can be. I think he can evolve and be the closer. Now, right now, does he seem to have it? No. I think we can all tell that. But I definitely think that there is, you know, some kind of something that we can do to fix this. Rysel is an option. We talked about him earlier. So if you really want to get the full details, of course, rewatch this. I'll probably put it out there as a separate video tomorrow. But that's the best thing I can tell you right now is you can't come out there after the game, right, for Snit. I'll play the clip.
Kenley's struggles seem to continue tonight.
I'm sorry?
Kenley's struggles kind of continue today.
He's had the last 5 outings. He's had 3 saves. He's pretty good Friday night. He's had bad days all. He's leading the league in saves.
So there's truth to that, right? He is leading the National League in saves, right? But, I mean, that 3.91 ERA is not what you want to see out of the guy pitching the 9th inning. It's just not. Look, but Kenley is, again, a Hall of Fame caliber pitcher. This is a guy who very well could be headed to the Hall of Fame. Whether or not he actually does, we will see one day, you know, maybe, 6-7 years from now, who knows, whenever he decides to hang him up. But at the end of the day, it's tough for me to just make that decision, is the best thing I can tell you. Cheese says, I see a lot of hate for Jansen on social media. Yeah, it's been a lot out there, guys. But here's the thing, Cheese. I'll tell you this. You know, there's something called a recency bias. And on Twitter, it really happens a lot, right? What have you done for me lately? We just talked about that with Jay Coterizzi. What have you done for me lately? That tends to overtake the minds of guys on social media. It just does. And a lot of people go just immediately to hate, right? And I don't particularly like doing that. If a guy can work through something, let's let him work through something. Now we're getting into the point where it's like, all right, look, postseason's coming up. If you don't got it, we got to move on. That's where we are in the time frame for me. But I'm not one to just go walking down Battery Avenue with pitchforks and torches. That's not what I'm gonna do to get Kenley out of there. I'm more of a let's see what the Braves decide to do. Because look, I know a lot. I'm pretty educated on the Braves. I study this. I really try to keep a close eye to it. But no one knows more than those guys that are sitting in Truist Park right now. No one knows more than them. So put your trust in Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snicker. I'm sure they'll work through it. But we do have another super chat. Really do appreciate it. It's from Chris Kaysen, a big supporter. Really do appreciate him. He says, thank you for being here for Braves country and MLB fans of all. Much love coming from Georgia. Look, I'm in Georgia too. So, I'm a homegrown kid here covering the Braves. Big fan of the Braves, obviously. I enjoyed talking about it. I enjoyed talking with you about it. I appreciate the super chat there, Chris. Appreciate all you guys out there watching. It really does help support the channel, and I would appreciate, obviously, a like on the video, subscribe, all that stuff. Guys, we're gearing up for the postseason. I'm really excited about the content we're going to put out. And, of course, we're going to do off-season stuff as well. You don't want to miss it. So, again, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, all that good stuff. I want to get squared away back up to where I was. Let me see. Andy Smith, I believe you're a new watcher, if I'm not mistaken, says, Tyler, you are an expert, and you should not be on YouTube. Well, I like being on YouTube. It is fun for me. I appreciate that. If Bally Sports is out there watching, I'd love to join, obviously. But, time will tell. That's all we can really hope for. But I appreciate that, Andy, and appreciate your support, and appreciate to be considered an expert. Jorge says, Kenley has a 2.13 postseason ERA apparently, but I think many people only remember his blown World Series games in 2017 and 2020, and how he didn't close Game 6 for the Dodgers in 2020. But he may be 2021 Will Smith. That's the thing, right? There's risk and reward, right? If you keep the faith with Kenley, if you keep it going, you may have a Will Smith type transition, right? You very well may have that. You may not, but you may have it. Here's the thing, though. What you see on the Braves roster right now is pretty much what you're going to get going into the postseason. We can't go trading for anyone anymore. That time has passed. This is who we got, and we got to stick with it. Now, we can fluctuate from the minors. There's a little bit of play that we can do there, but this is the team that the Braves are going to put out there. They can't go last minute changing. We're going to put Kenley in the 6th inning and Rysel in the 9th, and you don't want to just have chaos to have chaos. That being said, if something needs to change, something needs to change. Only time will tell. You may be watching late tonight, and we go into the 9th with a 1-run lead, and Rysel comes walking out of the bullpen. You never know. I definitely think there's something going on, but I'm sure that the Braves are on it. I'm sure Kevin Seitzer is on it, and I'm sure Kenley's on it. I don't think Kenley wants to be the one guy that everybody's looking at going, well, dude, you're getting paid $18 million this year. What are we doing? Right? Because that's what people are going to go to. That's not how I think about things. I think about money more so in what can the Braves go get. And I'll break down contracts. I'll give you my thoughts on it. The fact that the Braves have been able to do what they've done with contracts anyway is ridiculous. But I'll break those down and give you my thoughts on it. But I'm not one to go, well, he makes $18 million and he's not doing anything. Well, he's making, $64 million over the next 4 years and he's not doing anything. I'm not one to do that. I'm more so like, all right, Kenley, you're proven you can do this. What's going on? And right now, that's kind of where I think our heads need to be. Mad Map says, hi, Tyler. Big thing with Jansen is AA spent so much money, there it is, giving us such a great bullpen, so we have so many good replacements. No reason to stay with Jansen when we have Minter, Iglesias, McHugh, etc. Guys, keep in mind, if I'm not mistaken, Tyler Matzik gave up a home run in his last appearance. So, anybody can have a bad night. That's true. What Snit said was true. He had a bad night. The problem is you've seen a lot of bad nights recently by Kenley Jansen, and we're getting into the last month of the season. That's the real problem. It's not that, Kenley had a bad night. It's that they keep happening. And I think we're all aware of that. And there are a lot of other guys, Iglesias, McHugh, Mentor, like you mentioned, all guys that could close in the ninth inning. Most of them, I think, I'm pretty sure all of them have closer experience. But, also keep in mind the Braves have had a lot of tribulations in the bullpen this year. I remember talking, early in the year. And, I remember showing you this graphic. This is going to be the Braves bullpen. You remember that? I don't know if you do, but I certainly do. I remember when this was going to be the Braves bullpen. We're going to have Kirby Yates, Luke Jackson, Colin McHugh, A.J. Minter, Tyler Matzik, Will Smith, Kenley Jansen. We were going to have all these guys who, all of which have closed ball games before. But then Luke Jackson has Tommy John surgery, out for the year. Kirby Yates is gone for half the season. Will Smith doesn't exactly perform like he did in the postseason last year. Tyler Matzik was out for a lot of the year. So we were really limited. So they've had a lot of problems in the pen. That cannot be overlooked. The fact that we have gotten this far with all of the challenges that we've had in the pen, there's something to be said for that. But look, you're going to have painful days, guys. It's part of being a sports fan. It just is. No matter what the sport is, you're going to have days. Any Falcons fans out there today? You're going to have those days. So hopefully the Braves can move past this. And look, the real priority right now for Braves fans is not one game. The priority is the standings. And yes, it would have been nice to get the win last night and move up a game on the Mets. Sure, it would have. And we might look back on this game and go, man, we just needed that one game. We may do that, maybe. But there's been plenty of games that we could have won in other facets that, other pitchers could have won, And, honestly, if the Braves didn't come back in the ninth inning last night, we would be sitting here talking about Jake Odorizzi. That's what we would be sitting here talking about. So there's a lot to, that you could point at. But I just want to keep the positive energy. There's a lot to be excited about with this team. They showed you that in the ninth inning last night. It was painful yesterday, like Jake Hobby says. It was certainly painful. But there is still plenty of excitement to be had on this Braves team. Andy Smith, oh man, y'all talking about football. By the way, guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, all that good stuff. But look, if you don't want to do anything, just like the video. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Just like the video. It really does help me out. And of course, I really do appreciate it. And of course, all of you guys out there, I appreciate you watching tonight and getting your comments in. We are going to be here for a while. I don't have anywhere to be necessarily. So if you got a comment, get it in. I'll try to get as many of these knocked out as I can. They tend to go on forever. So if forgive me. But if you want priority, just make sure you do Super Chat. Let's see. Shama says, can we also talk about Acuna and Rosario? Sure, we can talk about Acuna and Rosario. Let's start with Rosario, right? Rosario, look, he was the one guy that I told you that I really wanted the Braves to get. He was the one guy that I was like, look, in the off season, that was the one guy that I was like, look, all of what he did in the postseason, what he did against the Dodgers, the averages that he had in the postseason last year, all that stuff. When all that was going on, I told you, like, look, I know Jock Peterson's out there. I know World Series MVP Jorge Soler is out there. But if there's one guy that I want, it is Eddie Rosario. Now, look. The year he's had this year has not been representative of what I thought it was going to be. He had the eye surgery. We've had a lot of ups and downs with Eddie Rosario. I think Eddie Rosario is a great player. I really do. I think he can be consistent across 162 when healthy, when he can see. But that doesn't always happen, It's tough to tell. He has another year on his contract. I think, there's nothing stopping him from being a postseason hero like we're watching in this video right here. That could happen. But right now, we haven't exactly seen Eddie just break out. But I do like, the idea of platooning him and Ozuna, according to the matchups. I do kind of like that in left field, maybe as DH, whatever the case may be. I do like that because, look, I don't want Ozuna playing every day. Has he been all right lately, yes, but we have been playing that great of competition and haven't been playing that much great pitching. So, just keep that in mind. He's been, more controlled at the plate, I would say, on a general scale here lately. Ozuna has. Rosario, I don't know what it's going to take, and I'm not going to criticize the guy, not too much anyway. I don't want I think he can be successful. It wouldn't surprise me if he broke out against the Dodgers again in the postseason this year. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But that being said, it is something that, we sort of raise an eyebrow out and go, look, are you an everyday player or not? But right now he's got another year on his contract. We're not paying him too much. He's not, taking up a spot and not doing anything with it. He is performing. And look, he's a good player. I really think that he's well liked in the clubhouse, and that does go a long way with the Braves. Look at Jesse Chavez. That does go a long way. And I think Eddie wants to play well. I think he is dedicated. Obviously, I don't think he's just showing up. I think he wants to win. So, and I think the Braves do have a chance to win. Now, Acuna's been talked about a lot here lately. This is a guy who missed out on the World Series last year, unfortunately, with his injury. He's a guy that we sort of put it in the back of our minds, like, look, when that guy gets back, he's going to perform. And look, Acuna's had a decent year this year. His average is fine, his on base is fine, all that's fine. I think he's doing pretty well in stolen bases. Home runs, not so much, but just keep in mind he is playing while also recovering. And an 80% Ronald Acuna is better than a lot of other players at 100%. So that being said, Ronald Acuna could be the guy to break out the postseason. He very well could be. But I think there's a little bit of a hesitancy there, to play at 100% by Acuna. That knee. Look, man, when you hurt something, it's real easy for someone else to say, all right, get out there and play like you used to. It's difficult to move past something like that. It's going to take time for that to happen. I think, the Acuna we see next year will be radically different than the Acuna we see right now. I do think that guy is a superstar, and I do think he's going to improve. But for right now, it's basically he's just got to come back from what he was dealing with. And until we see that full recovery, we're not going to know who he's going to be. I believe we have a super chat down at the bottom. Yep, William Fogum once again. What is your starting lineup in Game 1 of the wild card game, 1-9? Remember, Ozzy's back soon. Grissom, ? Sure. I gave a similar answer to a question last week. Ozzy is expected to be back in the next homestand at some point. Rain delays have kept him from playing in Gwinnett. I believe he's only had 12 at-bats or something like that in Gwinnett. So rain delays have held him back. But my starting lineup, really in no particular order. All right. So first of all, Ozzy's going to play second base. Make no mistake about it. The guy's an all-star. He if he didn't get hurt, he'd still be playing second base. He's going to play second base. And in my belief, Ozzy Albies is the obvious second baseman, right? I don't think there's any debating that. Now, the question comes with, well, what do you do with hot-hitting Vaughn Grissom, right? That's going to be the real question, because Vaughn Grissom has been great. He has been everything as advertised. So we'll see. By the way, guys, real quick, Chris Kaysen, thank you for joining the chat. Third inning, Cubs are up 3-0, so that's nice. But back to your question, William. In the starting lineup, for me, Ozzy, again, obvious second baseman. I think he's probably going to be lower down in the lineup. So if I'm looking at it right now, I'm going Ronald Acuna, number 1. I'd probably put a 2-spot stuff. I would probably put Dansby. I'd probably keep him at 2. And then, Olsen at 3, Riley at 4, something along those lines. 5, maybe the catcher spot, Darno, Contreras. Those are your heavy hitters this year. They've all been great. And beyond that, Ozzy 6, left field in 7. And what I mean by that with left field and not a specific player, you got Grossman, you got Vaughn Grissom, you got Eddie Rosario, you got Marcell Ozuna. There's a lot of options there. Whoever you want to put there, left field in 7, DH at 8, and maybe Ozzy at 9 to give you a second leadoff if you wanted to do that. But there's a ton of options. There's a ton of different options with this team. It all depends on how the Braves are playing. Are they playing with speed? Are they playing with power? There's a lot, of things to look at there. And it's tough for me right now. I don't exactly have a pen and paper where I can write it out. But that would be essentially what I would think. Again, and I hope I get this order right. Ronald Acuna 1, Dansby Swanson 2, Matt Olson 3, Riley 4, catcher 5, 6. I want to say I said left field there. DH 7. I don't know. But yeah, that would be, I said it earlier, you got it. But I would definitely have Ozzy probably in the 9 hole and work backwards from there. I think the first 5 are pretty obvious, and the in-betweens from 6 to 9 are you can work with it. Sorry about that. I'm again operating on top of my head, but I appreciate the question there, William. Let me get back up here and answer as many questions. I'm answering as many questions as I can, guys. Again, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all of that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. We are going to start with, let's get back to Jorge. If the Braves did not blow the 2 leads to the Cardinals and the lead to the Mariners yesterday, the Braves would be in first place. They would be well in the first place. I mean, they'd be a couple games up. And I think that's what's so upsetting for most fans, right? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm a pretty patient fan. I get irritated, I certainly do. But I'm patient. I try to be pretty forgiving because, you're talking about a game where, you're talking about grown men that are playing a kid's game, right? At the most elite level, it's not easy. And I think a lot of people just go, why can't you just throw strikes, right? How many times have you heard that at a Little League ballpark? So I try to be a little forgiving, a little patient. And I also try to be patient with the front office and, Brian Snitker. I have a lot of fans that look at me like I'm crazy when I say, Snit's a great manager. I have friends that can't stand Brian Snitker. So I know a lot of you don't, but I try to be patient. If the Braves didn't blow those leads, sure. But that's going to happen sometimes. We can look at it and go, man, those 3 blown saves. If we had just had that, we would have won the division. That may be the case, in a few weeks. And that's upsetting. You want to have an elite bullpen. You'd like that number to be 1 to none, but it's going to happen. So, the best thing we can do is win as many ball games as we can. Ronnie Redmond, this is my father, by the way. Thoughts on Grossman? What a pickup he has been. Dude can rake. Yeah, he's been good, and in big moments he's been good. The guy puts the bat on the ball. His average won't really show it. I looked at it the other day. I was curious what his average was with the Braves as opposed to the Tigers earlier this year. Really not that different. And his home run numbers are a little better. But his average isn't that different. And I was surprised by that because this is a guy who's putting bat on ball. And, the thing about it, though, is I don't know how many times he's hit a missile right at somebody. And that happens, maybe when the shift goes away, Robbie Grossman will be, a 300 hitter. Who knows, right? But he has hit, he has really been a good pickup by the Braves. I think he's a good example for the lineup. And that's something that I think a lot of people overlook. With guys like, and I'm not knocking anybody here, but with guys like, Marcell Ozuna in the lineup who have a high chase rate, only go for home runs most of the time, or that's what it's been this year, it seems. When you have guys like that in the lineup, they tend to be the example. And now you have a guy like Robbie Grossman who has been successful in his own, way, in a professional at bat. I think that could rub off well on young players, and that's really what, I think the real advantage of having Grossman is. Now, look, make no mistake, dude can play. He can rake. But I think having someone like that who has those professional at-bats, the last guy I can think of that had regular, professional at-bats that were just, that won games that way was Nick Markakis. And we all know how beloved he was in Braves country. So, yeah, I think Grossman has been great for the Braves. Obviously, he hit a big 3-run homer a while back. But beyond that, the way he plays the game every day has been the most impressive. Mike Jones says, what's up, bro? I say Kenley's going to figure it out. I hope so. I hope so, Mike Jones. I hope you're right, but we will have to see. Let's see. Break the Chains says Easy, Fried, Strider, and Morton. He is, of course, referring to the 3 starters I would have in a post-game series. I don't know if it's that easy, man. Kyle Wright's had a great year, and we talked to Kyle Wright early on in the year. I interviewed him, and I look, when I interview a guy, I'm naturally going to be supportive of these guys. Matzik, Luke Jackson, Kyle Wright, Will Smith. I'm going to like these guys. It's going to happen, right? And because, most of the time they're pretty friendly, right? It just is what it is. But beyond that, Kyle Wright has the most wins on the team. He has had a great year. Morton, as much as a gamer as he is, I don't think he's in my top 3 right now. The other 2, I'm in firm agreement with. Let's see. Jorge says he was surprised that Kenley took questions from the media yesterday. I wasn't. Look, Kenley's a professional. He's not going to shy away from mistakes. He's met with the media every time he's blown a save, from what I've seen. I've seen the video on Twitter every single time. So I'm not surprised by that. The thing I was surprised by really was, I guess, Snit's response. It was kind of like, look, he's leading the National League in saves. What do you want me to do? I get that, but I would have liked a little more info there on just the thought process. But I also understand Snit. Snit's going to defend his player. So that's really what more so I was surprised by. Kenley's response, I really wasn't that surprised by. I thought that was pretty mild, to tell you the truth. Map says, Tyler, do you think Jake Odorizzi picks up his player option to stay with the Braves next season? I think he probably does. He gets an extra $6.5 million next year if he stays. He won't get more to leave. Yeah, then he'll probably pick it up. I haven't really looked at it. I mean, he's a new asset. Obviously, he hasn't been here for very long. I definitely think Jake Odorizzi is going to want to stay in Atlanta. Now, how they use him is up to him because, look, all credit to Jake Odorizzi. I don't even know if he has a player option, so I'm falling on your, I'm believing you here for a second because I haven't really looked at it. But if he does, if he picks that up, and I don't know if there's a club option or not, but there has to be a club. If there's a club and player option, then it's a little bit different. But if he gets that extra $6.5 million, then he's coming back. Make no mistake. I firmly believe he's coming back. But the Braves have a lot of guys that, are going to be fighting for that spot. And it may be that Morton hangs him up after this year or moves on. I believe his contract's up pretty soon. He may decide to, he's had a career, and it's had a great career. But it may be that. But I look at the minor leagues. I see Kyle Muller. I see Bryce Elder, and so many of these guys that are right on that edge of coming up to the majors for good. And I look at that starting rotation, and it could be a lot better if you had a couple other guys in there, maybe one other guy in there. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, I think if Odorizzi is going to make the decision, then yeah, he's coming back. I don't think he's going to go test in free agency. Chris Kaysen says Strider is set up for a perfect spot to pick his team up. Yeah, Strider, wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I really like that about him. I know he got a lot of flack for what he said after the Mets series. I don't think he ever said anything bad. It's like, yeah, they got lucky hits. I hate to break it to Mets fans, but they got lucky hits. That's kind of the name of their game. So, did it necessarily come off great for Strider? Maybe not. But I didn't particularly mind it because it's like, look, next time we'll see what it is in October. I appreciate that. It's not something you see in baseball a lot. That is mild, compared to other sports for post-game interviews. That's pretty mild. I thought that was good, and the fact that he pitched against the Mets a week later and performed like he did says all it needs to say. I think that Strider is one of those guys that wants to pick the team up, wants to be a leader, and I respect it. Let's see. Chris Kaysen says, I love Morton. He is solid. He will give you a chance to win a game 90% of the time. Sure. Look, what he did, I don't care if you can talk about regular season stats all you want. What he did in the postseason last year, certifiable, postseason greatest moment. I mean, that's going to be in the top 20 World Series moments. You to pitch on a broken leg and do what he did, struck out Jose Altuve on a broken leg. I mean, that was great, but I also look at the starting rotation. I see a lot of young pitchers that are really good. Max Fried, Strider, Kyle Wright. And then I look at the minors and I go, well, there may be some guys down there looking to take that spot. And I'm not saying Morton necessarily. I'm just saying, if there's 5 spots, you're running out of options there. Chris Kaysen says, actually, I'm sorry, I skipped Jorge. I think Michael Harris has the potential to be a top 10 player in baseball like Acuna. He went toe-to-toe with Julio Rodriguez in Seattle. Michael Harris is a throwback. I mean, you don't see a guy hit for average and power anymore. I mean, it's not like he's doing, and have speed. I mean, he is a 5-tool player. And I love Michael Harris. I love what he's brought to the team. I love the energy he's brought to the team. I actually was in D.C. for his first homer. I was right behind the dugout. I believe me, myself, and my brother were responsible for the curtain call here, Steve. So, Michael, if you're out there, you're welcome. But, look, we're big fans of Michael Harris here at On Deck. And, look, the guy Obviously the Braves are fans of him. They signed him to a 10-year deal, and he's younger than me. So I think the Braves believe in him. I think the Braves believe in a lot of their young players, but specifically Michael Harris, and I think that says something for sure. We're going to skip down a little bit. Break the Chain says Kenley is leading the league in saves because he turns the lead into save situations. Is what it is. I don't think the thing about it is I don't think the Braves are really concerned with leading the league in saves. I think they think he gives them the best opportunity to win the game in the ninth inning. That's what I think they think. And I'm sure there's some metric out there. Obviously, the postseason ERA is something they're looking at going, look, we want him to be the closer in the postseason. We like what Reisel's doing right now, but that's the guy we want in the postseason. I'm sure they're looking at it saying that, but at what cost, right? That's kind of where I'm at with it. Let me see. We're probably going to wind it down here in a minute. Let me see. Garrett Clemens says, Soroka has not proved much in AAA so far. Believe me, I love Soroka. I just want him to come back 100% healthy and ready to roll. Yeah, look, I drove up to Rome. I wanted to see Soroka pitch. It's been 2 years. I had to see it in person. I had front row seats. This is the footage I got. He was dealing. But again, it was against Rome. Since then, he has not looked quite like that. He's looked good, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't quite looked like that. And that was an ace on the mound right there. And I agree with you. If it means that he's not back this year, I'm good with it. I don't know what it's going to be. It is something to keep an eye on for sure. But Soroka is a guy that can carry a team, for a game. He is a guy that can put the team on his back when healthy. But it may be a longer stint, in the minors than what we thought. It may be an off season before we see him in the major leagues, especially when you got Kyle Muller and Bryce Elder that are right there in AAA and they're pitching, very well. It may be a while before we see Mike Soroka back on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. But it is something to keep an eye on. It is something to be excited about, just the fact that he, again, is pitching. So I know that there's going to be talk about Soroka anytime you bring up Soroka. Honestly, anytime I bring it up, I know I'm going to get views if I do a video on Soroka because there's a lot of curiosity there. And look, I was curious. I was like, look, if this guy can perform, we really may be making a run here. And I still think that the Braves are going to make a run, but if you add Soroka, I'm going to be very excited. And I think a lot of it is that Soroka is very well liked. Anytime you see him interacting with fans, I don't know how much you guys go to the ballpark, but I will tell you, spring training, next to the dugout at the stadium, wherever he can, Soroka tends to fans, and that is something that's going to make fans like you. It just is. It certainly made a fan out of myself. I mean, just from a human standpoint, that's going to make people like you. So Soroka's very well liked because he does do those things, but also because of the injury, because he's been gone 2 years, because of what he was before he left, because he missed out on a World Series that he obviously would have pitched in. I think a lot of people have a lot of attachment to Soroka. I get it. I do too. But it's also, we want him to come back healthy, just like you said. Super chat from Johnny T. How do you feel about some of the changes in 2023? Well, I was planning on doing some kind of video feature on this just to cover it. I don't know. I don't really care about the bigger bases. The pitch clock, not the biggest fan of. I get it, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think it's kind of cheap. I don't think the game of baseball should be on a clock. I think if you're going to watch baseball, you need to sit and enjoy the game. But I also understand the flip side of that baseball is kind of struggling right now. They got to do something to keep casual fans involved. Here's the thing. I know I'm outnumbered when I say this. I'm just devil's advocate when I say this. The 77 people watching this live stream right now, y'all are not casual baseball fans. If you are watching my channel, you are not a casual baseball fan. You're in here with us. You are an avid baseball fan, right? I'm going to watch the Braves no matter what. I don't care what time it is. It does not matter, right? But there's other teams out there, guys. Think about, I got a friend in Milwaukee. Saw him the other day. He lives in Milwaukee, came to Columbus to visit. Saw him the other day. Older guy, mentor of mine. Great to see him, by the way, if you're out there watching Bobby. But look, he told me, he's like, Tyler, look, I've been to one game this year, and I'm a fan. He's like, I'm an avid fan. The game of baseball just isn't what it used to be. I mean, you got Milwaukee Brewers selling players, right? That conversation is out there. But think about Oakland. Think about, all these other places, these small market teams. They're not making, as much money as they want. They can't keep fans invested for 3 hours because they're not very good. You got to speed up the game to some capacity. I get that. From my personal standpoint, from my personal fanhood, I don't want the game of baseball on a clock. But I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not the majority. I'm not the guys that they're trying to appeal to. They got me watching no matter what. They have me watching the game of baseball no matter what. I am going to continue to watch, as are most of you, I assume. It's going to take a lot to make you stop watching the game of baseball. They got you. You are their audience. You are them, right? So you're not going to care if the bases are 3 inches bigger. You're not going to care if the pitch clock is there. Not really. It's not going to make you not go to the ballpark, right? These small changes. The biggest one, the shift. I'm not so against the shift. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be, supportive of that. I'm really not. And I've evolved on it because I used to be, look, hit the ball the other way. Freddie Freeman can do it. Hit the ball the other way. And then you hear players, you hear Jeff Francoeur the other night. You hear, Johnny Estrada. You hear Brian McCann. I mean, all these guys say, well, it's harder than that. It really is. And I do see it. And I think if it wasn't so hard, you would see players evolve. And it is a 3-outcome game right now. And that's upsetting. It is getting to the point where it's, look, I talk to a lot of old baseball guys, Darryl Chaney, Leo Mazzoni. I mean, those guys out there that played the game back in the day or coached the game back in the day. And a lot of them say, not those two specific guys when I say this, a lot of those guys are like, I can't watch it. It's unbearable to watch because it's not the game that I was a part of. It is completely different. Stolen bases aren't a thing near to the level they used to be. Small ball is not a thing where it used to be. I was watching the other night. I don't know how many times I have said to myself, why don't they bunt? Why don't they bunt? Right? It works in so many different ways, but they don't do it. And, I think we're going to open ourselves up to more of that. With the shift going away, I think you're going to see, less, just swing for the fences type of play because you're going to have the ability to get a line drive hit. I mean, look, the fact that Austin Riley goes clear across the field every night on 2 strikes or whatever that situation is, it's a little ridiculous. And we're talking about the Braves here. I think that's a little overblown. But you have to do it. If every other team's going to do it, you have to do it. I think this eliminates it. I think it's going to make the game of baseball slightly more entertaining. And that's the real key there. Baseball wants you to watch, is what it wants. And they believe that this is going to make it more entertaining for not only you and I, but for the casual fan. Football attracts casual fans. Basketball attracts casual fans. Baseball's struggling to do that right now. I mean, they really are. 3-hour games, slow-paced. It is tough to attract those fans. Again, for me and you, I mean, look around, guys. I'm here. I'm locked in. I'm not going anywhere. But for fans out there that don't have that background, that didn't grow up watching a team, that didn't, get fully invested in a team like we are right now, they are struggling to get those guys to watch. And until they do, you're going to continue to see these changes. So if you're a baseball fan out there, get your friends to watch. Get your friends that don't watch to watch. It is a great game, obviously, that we all love. Get your friends invested. Go to the ballpark. Show them around the Battery. They'll fall in love. It'll be fine. But, yeah, it's definitely turning into, a 3-outcome game. That I will agree with. Now, the bases and all, that's irrelevant to me. I wouldn't have noticed a 3-inch difference on pace anyway, so I don't really care about any of that. But the pitch clock, not too big on the pitch clock. I'm all right with the shift. But I hope that answers your question. That is for the super chat. Johnny T, how do you feel about some of the changes in 2023? Again, thank you for super chatting. If you're out there and you're thinking about super chatting, make sure to do it. I will address it. I see I missed one from Jorge. Appreciate that. I'm going to answer that right now. I'm officially on the Dansby must be re-signed train. That is from Jorge. Look, I get it. I've been fairly hesitant to really get active on the Dansby conversation. And, I'm not going to mention who I talked to, but I talked to someone close to the organization not too long ago, and I kind of asked them bluntly, how are you feeling about it? And they asked me, how are you feeling about it? And I said, well, any other year I'd be pretty confident. I told him my reasoning. Like any other time, I would be pretty confident in the Braves re-signing Dansby Swanson. But after Freddie Freeman, I was overconfident. You guys, if you guys were here, you remember I told you without a doubt Freddie Freeman was coming back. After seeing the interviews after the World Series, after seeing Alex Anthopoulos talk about it, I had trust in that. I really did, and I blew it. I was way off. And it's not anybody's fault. I mean, we can sit here and talk about all that. I don't want to get into it. What I'm telling you is I was overconfident then. I'm not going to be overconfident now. And I told this person this. And he basically responded with, yep, pretty much. And this is a guy way closer to the organization than I am. So I'm just telling you that I'm on that train. I want Dansby to be re-signed. But it has to be, it's a two-party thing. They got to come together. And until they do, we're going to be sitting on the outside just twiddling our thumbs, wondering what's going to happen. I think Dansby wants to be back. He's from here. He has the All Things Loyal brand, ATL, if you didn't put that together. His friends are here. I think Dansby's going to want to be back. Not to mention, he's on a contending team. It doesn't get much better than that. But he's got to understand that he's not going to get market value. And, we've talked extensively about the Freddie Freeman situation. I did a whole, probably 4 videos on it because it was the biggest topic in baseball for like 3 weeks. Chipper Jones spoke on it. And I think a lot of that rings true now. If Dansby wants to be a Brave, he will be a Brave. That is the attitude I have with it. And here's the thing. Everyone is replaceable. Everyone is replaceable. That is something that Braves fans have had to learn, right? Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. It's a business. Ronald Acuna, Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario. It is a business. You have to move on. And if Dansby puts the Braves in a situation, the Braves have to make a decision. And we've seen it before. I don't know that we're going to see it again. I'm not going to say that. But if it comes down to the wire, we're going to have to see. Do I think he should be re-signed? Yes, I do. But he's also had a very good year on a contract year. He's going to attract the big teams, and it's going to be interesting. That's what I would say. It is going to be interesting. But I do think he's going to want to be back. The good thing for the Braves is that they have a ready-made, I hate to say the word replacement because it doesn't really fit it. They have a ready-made player ready to go in Vaughn Grissom. And that is going to give them leverage. Say, look, Dansby, we'd love to have you back. We want you back. But if you don't want to take X amount of dollars, we'll give it to Vaughn. We believe in this kid. We think he's going to be good. We think he can play shortstop well, obviously. We think he's the next guy. And, they may make that decision. I certainly hope not. You want to keep this team together, and that's part of what's killing baseball too, if you ask me. And this is a complete side set of what we're talking about. But to cap off the Dansby conversation, baseball itself is struggling in a way that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. All of these big-time deals, all right? Bryce Harper, $300 million to Philadelphia. Juan Soto turns down a $500 million deal to the Nationals to go to free agency in a couple of years, is now traded to the Padres. Josh Hader, Brewers can't afford to pay him next year, so he's off to San Diego. Manny Machado from Baltimore to San Diego, or to LA, to then San Diego. You're not Freddie Freeman, from Atlanta to LA now. Trey Turner from the Nationals to Anaheim. You're not seeing a lot of these guys stay in one uniform anymore. And look, that's been a thing for years. That's been a thing for a long time now. It's nothing new, but it is a problem because. Alex Anthopoulos mentioned this when talking about Michael Harris. Why in the world would I buy a jersey for a guy that I'm not sure is going to be back next year? If I'm a fan of the ballpark, just a random fan of the ballpark, right? Why would I do that? Because I'm not sure this guy's even going to be around next year. There has to be some consistency. That's the good thing about all these players getting locked up. Riley, Harris, that is the good thing is that you can put your support into these guys and know that they're going to be around for a long time. And Alex Anthopoulos spoke specifically. That is a goal he had in mind. But from a baseball standpoint, overall baseball standpoint, that is rare. You're not seeing guys stay in one uniform anymore. And it used to be something that happened, all the time in baseball. And it's just not anymore. I remember, talking to a guy the other day. He's like, I can't get into baseball. Everybody's moving around too much. Everybody's getting paid too much money. That is a problem. Is it a salary cap issue? I don't know. I don't really care who makes what, honestly. As long as the Braves don't make a stupid decision, I don't really care. But it is something to take note of. And yeah, look, is it about money? Yes, it's about money. It's obviously about money. It's always going to be about money. It's a job. At the end of the day, it's a business, guys. But it is a problem that teams can't afford to keep their players. That is a problem, especially players that they want to keep. The Nationals obviously wanted to keep Juan Soto. They could not do it. Even with a $500 million offer, he turned it down. The biggest contract in baseball history by a long shot, turned it down. So it's just, Chipper Jones said it perfectly in that interview I just mentioned. It's not always about the money. It's about where you're comfortable playing. And I think right now we're in a time where not a lot of guys are thinking that way. And, that's Scott Boras, and that's, it's those guys out there that really fight for that money. Rightfully so. It's their job. But at the same time, I look at it and I go, what is baseball coming to? When teams can't keep their players, what is it coming to? So, if nothing else, credit the Braves. They've managed to do it for the most part. Of course, we lost Freddie, but at the same time, we've kept a lot of them. Super Chat says, Frey Morg, hey, bud, a little late to the party. I'm sure you spoke on this earlier. What's your position on the closer situation? Love your work. Frey Morg is one of the biggest supporters on the channel. Been a while since I've heard from you, but appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, you're a little bit late, but no worries. Frey Morg, I'm going to advise you. You might just want to watch it back. To tell you the truth, I'll go through it really quickly, but I'm not going to be able to go through all of it just from I got to cover everybody standpoint. But my stance is essentially, it's up to the Braves to do it. A lot of people were upset last night with Kenley Jansen, and a lot of people were upset with Snit after the game in his response. I was not. Snit's not going to make a radical decision, after the game that Kenley just lost. That's not going to happen. That's going to be something that's discussed privately behind closed doors, and it should be. Snit's got to take up for his guy. But I do think the Braves are likely going to stay with Kenley, at least for another go. I think the Braves look at Kenley and they go, that's the guy we want in the postseason. He's got to be squared away if we're going to be successful in the postseason. And is it time for Rysel to take over? Maybe. But I don't think they're going to go jumping to that immediately. I don't. You're talking about a guy who, all in all, is leading the National League in saves, even though his save percentage isn't, leading the National League by any stretch. But he is leading in saves. And if he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, he's a Hall of Fame guy, you can't just take him out. You have to ride him a little bit. And I think they're going to try their best to do that. But it is getting down to the wire. A decision may have to be made. But I don't think it's there just yet. As upsetting as last night was, as upsetting as, the past week or two has been with Kenley Jansen, I don't think we're there yet. And I think until it gets to the point where this guy could completely derail our season, I don't think the Braves are going to get off of him. And by that point, it may be too late. But I don't think that's where the Braves are going to go. And, whether or not you agree with it or not, I just don't think so. Now, they very well may be making a decision behind closed doors right now, before the game, going, look, ninth inning situation, it may be I don't want to, I'm literally theorizing on top of my head, but it may be a Snit, Alex Anthopoulos decision where, hey, look, if I get in the ninth inning, do you want me to bring him out again in a one-run game, or do you want me to go with somebody else? Whatever the decision is, I'm fine with, but it's not going to be made in a post-game conference. It's just not. The idea here is going to quietly be made in the top of the ninth inning, whether that be tonight or whether that be in another night. That's how it's going to go. It's not going to. It's just not. Snit's not going to come out and go, yeah, I know he blew it, right? That's not how he's going to handle the situation, and rightfully so. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of my stance. Again, I would encourage you or anyone else tuning in late. I appreciate the super chat, by the way. If you're tuning in late, again, I really do encourage you. Check out, just watch this back if you want to know about the closer situation. I apologize for that. But, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. It really does help the channel out. You guys have been awesome tonight. I'm going to be around for a little while longer. I'm not going anywhere just yet, only because you guys have been very, you guys have been very talkative tonight, and that helps me be very talkative, so I appreciate that. Philip Nichols has a super chat. He just says, thank you for all of your work, Tyler. We appreciate you. No, I appreciate you guys. And again, your support means a lot. So again, the likes, they add up, guys. I promise you. The subscriptions, we're almost to 4,000 subs. That stuff adds up, and it's not a joke. It really does help the channel. I don't know where this channel is exactly going to go in the future, but I do know that I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy, covering Braves baseball and covering baseball in general. I do know that we are going to cover the postseason. The current plan is to do live streams during postseason games. Maybe not all of them, but through a lot of them. We are going to be doing that, and I can't guarantee that I'm going to be here for each and every one of them, but as many as I can, I'm going to be here watching it alongside you. I did that for the Home Run Derby earlier in the year. It was very successful, and we may very well do that again. Obviously, covering the Braves, we may cover a little bit of everybody at that point, try to expand the audience a little bit. But right now we're just covering the Braves. We're following them pretty close, and I try to give you as much background information as I can. I really do keep a close eye on the Braves. I think more so that the national media does, and I think I try to provide something a little bit more homegrown, and I think that's something that a lot of teams don't have. So that's kind of my goal there. So thank you for the super chat. Thank you for all the super chats. I really do appreciate it. Remember, if you have a if you have a thing you want to get off your mind, make sure to super chat, and I'll use you as priority. Chris Kaysen has an update. If you're watching this back, this is probably way late, but 5th inning, Cubs are up 5-0. Hopefully they can hold that lead. But yeah, good by the Cubs. Hopefully the Braves can win against the Giants tonight and get that game they lost last night back. We got another super chat. Johnny T says, I think it's on owners also using the Votto situation. They were very competitive and just had a fire sale. A guy who wanted to stay in Cincinnati his whole career. Yeah, look, someone gave me some great advice one time, and it was never feel bad for the owners, right? Never feel bad for the owners. The owners of the Braves made $500 million in a month last year. $500 million in 1 month. So don't feel bad for the owners ever. I'm not defending the owners. What I am saying is we're getting to a point where it doesn't, teams don't matter anymore. And that's what I think is upsetting because, again, it's hard for a fan to invest in a team. It's hard for a fan to invest in a player if year to year we don't know where they're going to be, right? Imagine if all of a sudden the Braves just decided to trade Ronald Acuna for prospects. Right? And because we can't afford to keep him. Right? That would be upsetting to a lot of people who, bought a Ronald Acuna signed bat, bought an Acuna jersey, bought a whatever. It would be upsetting to a lot of people. Rightfully so. Now, the good news is Acuna's on a long-term deal, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of these teams can't do this. They can't attract players to stay for a long time. They can't attract players to, invest in the team because they can't afford them. And that's where the game of baseball is going, and it's a direction that I don't particularly love. And I get that there's nothing that we can really do to change that, but it is something that we're going to have to deal with. And for right now, that's kind of where we are. We're probably going to wrap it up in about 20 minutes, so make sure to get everything in you want to do. You guys have been awesome tonight. The super chats, I promise you guys, they add up. They really do help the channel, so I really do appreciate that, Johnny T. Appreciate that, Chris. Appreciate that, Jorge. If I missed you, I'm sorry. A lot of guys to get through, but you guys have been awesome tonight. Let's see. I'm trying to find out where I left off. Let's just jump in. Luke T says, don't even get me started on the Falcons. Here's the thing, right? By default, I guess I'm a Falcons fan. I'm not really huge on NFL anyway. I sort of just use it to win money in fantasy because I'm better than my friends at it. And that's the truth. I'm a 2-time champ. But the thing about it is this: the Falcons they're a tough watch. I tuned into the game the other day. I was like, all right, what are the Falcons going to be under Marcus Mariota? What are they going to be? And they're up by 20. I'm like, oh, great. I come back 5-10 minutes later, and it's just they lost. So it's just tough for me to get invested anymore in the Falcons until they get something competitive. I can't get into it. I wish I could. At this point, I'm an NFL fan. So that's kind of where I'm at. But that being said, at least we have a couple of teams in the ATL that are performing. I'm more of a baseball guy anyway. Chris Kaysen says, look at Josh Hader, how terrible he is at closing ball games. Just have to hope Snit, the Braves, and Jansen can get back into the swing of things. Yeah, look, Jansen is not the only guy going through something like this. He's far from it. But you hope that they can get over it. You hope that he can get over it, come postseason. Baseball Guy 01 says, I wanted Peterson, Jock Peterson. All the others just because he was more versatile, and I didn't trust Rosario Soler to be more consistent. See, I was the opposite. I trusted Rosario to be consistent, and it was, and this is going to sound dumb now, but it was because of how consistent he was, throughout the postseason. I mean, the dude was just raking, and a guy like that who can hone in at that time, I wanted that guy back. Jock was a guy who I viewed as more of a, how do I put this? A leader in the clubhouse. He had a good culture. He carried a good culture and created a good environment. But I didn't know that he would necessarily be able to play every day in Atlanta this year. Now looking back, I think he probably would have, but it's hard to tell. Hindsight's, your best friend in the future, but it doesn't always add up that way. But yeah, I really wanted Rosario. I still think that guy can play. Obviously, I would have taken Jock at the trade deadline if we could have got him. I would have traded Jorge if we could have got him. But it's tough. Jock, out of all those guys, I think now looking back is like, man, I wish we could have got it back. I wish we could have got all those guys back. They were great. Jorge says, Tyler, would you start Eddie over Grossman in a playoff game? Right now, I don't think most fans would. Grossman right now has to be playing every day. Yeah, Grossman's going to get overlooked, guys. He's not, Eddie is a postseason hero, right? Most fans are going to look at that and go, well, how do you not start Eddie, right? Like, what are you talking about? Eddie's the guy that hit a 3-run homer in Game 6 against the Dodgers. Eddie's the guy that, just performed at an elite level, at the most viewed time. How do you not start that guy? And I think a lot of people look at that and go, yeah, how do you not? I look at it and I say, again, who's hot at the right time? Because they both hit from the same side. Well, Grossman's a switch hitter, but they can both hit left-handed. So that doesn't necessarily work for Eddie. Grossman, if you wanted to platoon, you could do that, right side versus left. I really like the idea of Grossman playing in left every day and platooning, Ozuna and Rosario at DH at the moment. That's kind of what I like. Not a guarantee that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's kind of where I'm at from a logistical standpoint. I don't know what other option you have. Grossman right now has been very good, though. And again, his average isn't going to reflect that. Sometimes it's just the eyeball test. There's a reason we got him at the deadline, and I think he's shown it. But we'll see. Jake Hobby says, Tyler, do you think we could go after Soler again if he opted out? If so, what do we do with the other outfielders? Well, there you go, Jake. I think you answered your own question there a little bit. What do you do with the other outfielders? Soler, again, great player, great moments with the Braves. Obviously, the home run that's going to be remembered forever. But at the same time, I don't know what you would do with those other outfielders because you do have plenty of other guys that are in that role that you're paying. I mean, you're paying Eddie Rosario $8 million over 2 years, I want to say. That they are being paid. And Soler hasn't exactly had, a phenomenal year. He had a great postseason. But this year he has a 207 batting average and 13 homers. It's not like, I think Ozuna's doing better than him right now. And it may be that he's on the 10-day IL right now, so that's probably part of it. I'm sure he's been a little bit, had the injury bug here and there. But it's not something that I'm like, yeah, we got to go get Soler now. Like, no, that's not how I feel at all. I think if there's anybody from last year's team that I wish we'd have gotten, is who we were talking about just a minute, in Jock Peterson, because Jock Peterson has been one of the few shining lights on the Giants this year. 269 average, 22 homers. And he's performing at a great level. He also provides a great culture. Soler had a couple of great moments. Obviously won the World Series MVP. Nobody else deserved the World Series MVP more than him. But it's also, I don't know that he's necessarily the guy we want through 162. Jock could have been that guy. I still think Eddie can be that guy. Soler was never even in the picture for me. And with all the other outfielders, as limited as it is right now, I look at it, I see Ronald Acuna, I see Michael Harris. They're obviously taking the two spots. Now, Acuna, when he's resting his knee, DH, but, they're obviously taking two spots there. I look at left field, I see Grossman, I see Ozuna, I see Rosario. There's a lot of guys there. When he was healthy, Adam Duvall, but he's gone now. So there's a lot of guys there that could have filled that role. And, then I look at, the Vaughn Grissom situation. And I've mentioned that I thought Vaughn Grissom could go to left field if need be. Now, whether or not that happens, I think Vaughn Grissom will stay on the roster. I don't know where he's going to go once Ozzie returns. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't know where he's going to go, but I think he's going to find at-bats, whether that be give Riley a day off, give Dansby a day off, whatever the case may be, he's going to find at-bats. It may be that they put Ozzie at DH for the time being, to rest his foot, but I think they're going to find at-bats for Vaughn Grissom. But, again, we're talking about Soler here. We're kind of getting into a deep cut. But we're talking about Soler. I don't think he was the guy ever, unfortunately. As much as, you want your World Series MVP back, it would have been nice, sure. I don't think he fit into the mold of what the Braves really lineup was and situation was. He was great for last year, but once that contract expired, it was like, okay, well, we don't really have anywhere for you to go. No offense to him, but we're kind of stuck with Ozuna now, right? And that was kind of my thought there. Chris Kaysen says Rosario is a clutch player. In big moments, he comes through without a doubt. Let's see. I'm kind of having to skip with some of you guys. I apologize for that. But yeah, you guys have been very active tonight. Remember, if you have something that you just want to get off your chest, super chats are the best way to go about it. Also, make sure to like this video. You guys have been great about that tonight. Can't thank you enough. And of course, we're going to do these as many times as we can. We're gearing up for the postseason. The Braves are going to the postseason. It's just a matter of which postseason series they go to. So we will cover all of that. So make sure that you follow this channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to be covering it as long as the Braves carry us through. So appreciate you guys tuning in. D North Star brings up what the original topic of this video is about. Says, I'm concerned about Jansen in the playoffs as the closer. I prefer Iglesias. Jansen is a liability with runners on base and has been lights out. I believe Iglesias has been lights out. Yeah, he has, for sure. Without a doubt he has. I think it's tough. I prefer Iglesias too, right now. But, what's to say that Iglesias doesn't fall off next week, right? And that's not exactly fair to him. I mean, look, the dude's been great in Atlanta this year. But it's really easy to go, well, this guy's pitching great right now. How could we not pitch this guy? That's easy to say. And with Kenley struggling, you look at Iglesias and you say, well, what do you really do? But it's tough. I mean, with a guy like Rysell, who's been great this year, for the Braves, and has really found new life with the Braves. You want to reward that in some capacity, but you also you don't want to just go punishing Kenley Jansen and you don't want to remove that confidence. And I know I keep bringing that back, but you don't want to remove that confidence. So I don't know. We'll see. One Eye Jack says, Tyler, do you believe there is a ghost of a chance that the Braves could sign Jacob deGrom next year? It seems like every time I do a live stream, I get asked that question. Honestly, no, I don't. If it happened, I'd be excited. Of course, I'd get on here and do a video about it. I don't think so. I think the Braves, especially if they lose the division this year, I really think they may go get something to get over the hump. And maybe taking Jacob deGrom away from the Mets is something they do. But you're talking about a guy who's been injury-ridden the past couple of years, who's going to demand big money to go anywhere. I don't know. And you're also counting on the fact that he has to opt out of his contract. Is it possible? Sure. I just don't think it's likely. I think it's very unlikely. And I think you know that. I think you're very aware of that too. It's unlikely. So, we'll see. But that's kind of where I'm at. Jake Hobby says, Wright has me slightly worried. Said he felt some arm fatigue in Oakland last week, so they moved him to tomorrow instead of tonight. Yeah, well, you know what? At least it's... I think it's good that he's at least aware of himself to go, look, I got a little fatigue, I'm not there yet. At least I'd rather him say that, at least he's prioritizing the team over himself there. But yeah, it's something to be a little worried about, but look, guys, we're in the back leg of the season. People are going to have fatigue. People are going to be, it just is what it is. They throw, 100 miles an hour for, 6 innings a game. It's going to happen. But the key is to limit that and do what they can with it. let's see. Joe Reese says, I think Morton will retire after the season and Odorizzi will be put in the pen if not traded in the offseason. Could be. And Kyle Muller and Mike Soroka will be in the starting rotation next year. I don't think that's out of the I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all, because I've thought that, and look, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you how it's going to go down. I think Morton very well may retire. I think he probably wants to retire a Brave, and I don't necessarily see him having a spot next year. Odorizzi, I think, is in a little bit of the same situation where I just don't see him having a spot. Maybe put in the pen, but I don't know if he's a bullpen pitcher. We'll see. Kyle Muller, phenomenal guy in the minors. We went up and saw him about a year ago now. And look, I've been impressed with Kyle Muller since a couple of years ago. I think he's going to be great. But yeah, I think ultimately, Mike Soroka, he may be a few months away. And I mean that, I'm rooting for him. I'd love it if he came back and somehow won, NLCS MVP for pitching a shutout or something. But at the end of the day, it's a lot to expect out of a guy who hasn't pitched in 2 years. Captain Ron says the Braves will win 3 World Series in the next 5 years. Remember that. You know what, Captain Ron? Just for you, I'm going to screen grab that. And if it happens, I will give you the credit. But it will be in about 2029 or whatever, 2028, wherever we are. I'll let you know, though. Let's see. Tyler says, nice name, by the way, says, your local Reds fan checking in, but love your content right there at the home stretch. The Braves are. Really hope they get the division versus the wild card. Yeah, I mean, I hope they get the division. I don't know, why anybody would be a Mets fan, but, they're out there. I think the Braves have a lot of talent there. I think they really can win the division, and I think they have the momentum. Even after last night, I think the fact that the offense did what it did against Seattle, a very good team, I think they have the momentum. I think the Mets are feeling the Braves breathe down their neck a little bit too. And I know you're a Reds fan. Obviously, you see the Reds helmet back there. This is how do I put this? I'm not a Reds fan, but I have friends that used to be Reds, Darryl Chaney, and others. But the history of the Reds organization is prevalent in my baseball knowledge. I'm a Reds guy in some capacity. Went to Cincinnati a couple years ago. You guys got a great ballpark, great museum. Probably, if you guys, Braves fans out there, if you're ever considering going to a ballpark and you like history, go to Cincinnati. It is the closest thing to Cooperstown you'll get without going to Cooperstown. Another good one I'll give you is Tampa. I know it sounds like Tropicana Field. What? They have a hitters museum. It's the, I believe, the Ted Williams Hitters Hall of Fame. It's in Tampa. You ought to go check it out. But Cincinnati, the way they did that museum, just look up pictures of it. You'll see. I mean, it's phenomenal. The baseball atmosphere in Cincinnati is different. It just is. Y'all are a baseball town. I would say probably more so than Atlanta. Just from a historical standpoint, you guys love the Reds, and I respect y'all for it. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Really do appreciate it. You guys, like Chris Cason says, you guys got a lot of young talent, which is true. I'm a Votto fan. I won't lie about that. I love Joey Votto. So you guys are going to be good in a few years. Make no mistake about it. Captain Ron says, if the Braves had Soroka in 2020, the Braves would have beat the Dodgers and won the World Series. I agree with you. I fundamentally agree with you. Make no mistake about it. I think if the Braves just had another decent starting pitcher, they would have won the World Series that year. Ronnie Redmond says, not a fan of only being able to have 2 pickoff attempts. Yeah, good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I guess the next one will be runner leaving on first move or when the rubber is towed, then maybe a lot of pitch outs need tweaking at least. Yeah, what he's talking about, and Jeff Francoeur and Chip Carey brought it up, pitchers are only going to have 2 pickoff attempts. This isn't a time-saving attempt by Major League Baseball. This is with the new rules next year. I don't like that move at all. I do not like it. I think it is a shame. I think you're kind of, at that point, you're kind of ruining the game, because if a guy gets on first and you throw it over there twice, even if you throw it over there once, this dude can get a big lead, right? Which is great. I mean, you're encouraging offense, and I get that, but it's just you got to make them earn it a little bit more than that, in my opinion. I just don't think it's good. Appreciate that though. A lot of you guys tuning in tonight. I hope I'm not missing any super chats here late. But remember, guys, we're probably going to wrap it up here in about 10 minutes. I'm going to answer these last few questions, and then I'm probably going to wrap it up. Remember, if you're out there, like this video, subscribe to this channel, all that good stuff. It really does help the channel out, and I really do appreciate it. By the way, also, you can follow me on social media right there. But yeah, we've had a lot to talk about tonight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously, a lot going on in Braves country, a lot going on around the world of baseball. You guys have been great tonight. So we'll see. Make sure to root for the Cubs tonight as well. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter there. You can follow me on Instagram. You can message me there if you'd like. I try to respond. It's a little spotty sometimes. The best place to comment is, of course, the channel, because I see those. They're all lined up for me. I can answer as many as I can. I'm a one-man show, guys. And there's a lot of you, so I do what I can. But yeah, right there, if you want to, the links are also down below if you need them. So appreciate you guys tuning in again. Let's see. Let's try to find somebody new down here. Ooh face. I hope I said that right. Mariners game was a blessing in disguise. I can't take Jansen in the postseason. You might be right. It may be, hey, Braves, here's your weakness. It very well may be that. I don't know that it's necessarily the case. I think, I think the Braves are going to probably stick with Kenley. I definitely think it showed us, I definitely think it showed us, hey, we got a problem here that needs to be addressed, and whether that's addressed through Kenley, whether that's addressed outside of Kenley, either way, it's a problem that needed to be addressed. So hopefully that'll be the case. Let me see. Looks like the Cubs are handling business. Hopefully they keep the lead. That's all we can hope for. But the Braves still have to win, even if they do that. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it off at. You guys, again, have been awesome tonight. Absolutely phenomenal chat tonight. Obviously a good topic to talk about. It's been pretty active on Twitter all day long. Kenley Jansen, whether or not he needs to be, the closer or not for the Atlanta Braves. If you missed the early part of the show, that is where we really highlighted that. So if you missed it, that will be on the replay. You can rewind this video. You can do whatever you need to do, but it will be on the replay. I'll more than likely clip like a 5 to 10 minute version and post it on the channel tomorrow. But that is, of course, not going to be there till tomorrow. So if you want to see it tonight, make sure to just rewind this video. You can see it from the beginning and watch the whole hour back if you want to. But with that said, guys, enjoy the Braves tonight. Again, taking on the Giants. Strider will be on the mound. So obviously we're going to have some fireworks no matter what. But with that said, guys, do me a favor. Remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. It truly does help the channel more than you know. And I really do appreciate your support always. And I will see you on the next time we go live right here at On Deck.